These are animatrons, human or animal figurines that are animated by mechanisms powered by hand cranking. When I've had students build these in the past, they had a lot of troubles forming the wires, designing the bases, and building a mechanism that was steady and smoothly animated. I've been messing with laser cut boxes and developing something that we could cut out that forms a good base that we can then make our figurine on top of. In this video, I'll show you how I download box designs and modify them to create the mechanisms you use here. First of all, you're going to need Inkscape, a free vector graphic design program that's really powerful and allows us to make designs that we can later laser cut. Okay, we are going to be using Inkscape to design some boxes to be laser cut. The first thing we should do is open up Inkscape. It's a fun, free vector program with lots of cool tools and features. It's very powerful, and if you've never used it before, my suggestion would be to go up to the Help menu under Tutorials and work through these tutorials. Each one opens up a new document that's interactive. It will have text on it and objects, and it will go through the basic controls you need to use so you can take advantage of all that Inkscape has to offer. There'll be objects you get to move and manipulate, and it goes pretty quick. Again, that's under the Help menu, Tutorials, and I have my students do the first 3 basic shapes and advanced. After that, they do a little quiz, and that's about all they need to get started laser cutting. If you're interested in graphic arts, the other tutorials are very, very helpful as well. So I'll close that. No, close without saving. And then we could draw a box that we wanted to laser cut in here and figure out how to do finger joints and make those mesh. I found it easier just to use some tools online. There's lots of different box generators that you have access to. Just search up laser cut boxes. And I really like this one. It's at festi.info/boxes.py, festi.info/boxes.py. There's lots of different options here for boxes with hinges and lids. But for this project, we're going to be doing a tray, and we want to do tray layout. Click on that and it'll open up this interface. You get to decide how many compartments your tray will have. The image here shows one that's actually a 2x2, and there will be an option later to delete a wall in that box. So this was 2 top and 2 bottom. They deleted a wall to create this longer bottom box. For our automata, we want one that's 1 wide and 2 tall. Hit generate and it'll open up this page. We like the settings for the finger joints. I haven't had any problems with those. We're going to mess with the tray layout settings a little bit. Our box, we're going to make a little bit smaller. It's going to have an outside, and I have outside checked here, an outside measurement of 60 millimeters. So enter in 60 there. Oops. Enter in 60. I keep HI, which is the height of the inner walls, 0, which just means that they will be the exact same size as the outer walls. This is where you can choose the layout here by editing the little symbols in here. You could delete a wall by removing this or add in corner joints. The first argument up here is how wide this column is. We want our first one also to be 60. And then, sorry, we want the first one to be 30 wide. My bad. 30 are... And so the box will be 30 wide. We want the upper compartment to be 60 tall, and then the bottom compartment to be 30 tall. And so this is kind of on the side. This is actually my box width, and these are maybe my box length, and these are my box heights here. 3 millimeters works good for what I laser cut. I use 1/8 inch plywood, and that's a good fit for us. I don't need the labels where the parts are, and I usually put reference as 0. The reference makes a little rectangle, that width in millimeters, that can be measured and then adjusted for in your graphics program to make sure that the box is the right size you want it to be. I find that burn value a little bit tight. I drop that down to 0.085. and then we hit download. There we go. If we open up in a browser, that's what it looks like. But what I really want to do is take this and drop it into my Inkscape document. There's our finger joint box for plywood. This will slide together. It's all grouped right now. I'm going to hit Shift, Control, and G to ungroup. This piece will be our back. These are our sides, and these are the top, bottom, and middle piece. Now we want some holes in this for our crank and slide to go in. I can draw a circle using the ellipse tool. It doesn't have any fill right now. I'm going to make a really small hole, so I'm going to add a fill so it's visible later. And the hole that I found worked well for the piano wire I'm using is 1 millimeter. The piano wire is about that size, diameter, and when the laser cuts this, there's a little bit of a curve, and it actually makes this hole a little bit bigger than 1 millimeter, and so it fits that wire nicely. And I'm going to want 4 holes, 2 for the crank and 2 for the slide. So the crank's going to go into either side piece, and I want it centered in this larger compartment here. And we can measure and calculate, but I found basically the easiest way is to draw a rectangle that fits inside that compartment. So I draw it from finger joint to top edge, and just adjust that. And then I make sure that snap to center is on, and I can drag my hole here to snap to the rotation center of this box I drew. And if it's not perfect, that's okay. To make sure that it lines up nicely, I'm going to actually delete this side, which is identical to this one. And I am just going to select all that, copy and paste. And so now I've got 2 sides that are identical. I don't need this guide box in here anymore. I'm going to just drag that to the side and delete this one. We want a hole on the top and the middle piece, and so I'm going to make a new guide box down here, snapping to the corner. I'll run it corner to corner like that. And same thing, I'm going to use a 1 millimeter hole, so I'm just going to hit Control C, copy that, Control V, paste it on this top piece, and I actually want this, works best if it's off center here, and so this is going to be towards one edge, and I just kind of look visually, is it lined up with this first finger here? And I want it centered though, so I'm going to select both of them. I got the circle centered and my guide box centered, and I'm going to go over to my align and distribute, and I actually don't need the guide box here. I could select just the whole piece and my circle and go to align and distribute, and I'm going to center to the last selected there. And so my box moved a little bit, and now it's in line with this piece. I want an identical middle piece, and so I'm going to delete that. Copy this, and just put it close there. One last thing we're going to want is a couple washers and a retaining clip. I'm going to make another circle using the ellipse tool and set it to 5 millimeters wide and 5 millimeters tall. I'm going to get my hole for my wire and center it in there. We will want 4 washers here, so I'm just going to hit Control C, Control V, and make 4 washers. Last thing I want to make is a retaining clip, and that's going to hold some wires in place. It's pretty much the same. It's going to have an elongated hole. I'm going to use the rectangle tool for that. Draw a little rectangle inside here and change the dimensions to 3 tall and 1 wide. And then I'm going to round the corners here. So if I use the rectangle tool and I look at my rectangle here, there's a little handle that I can grab to change the path here. And I'm going to drag this handle all the way down, and that creates that nice round shape. I'm going to have that snap to the middle. And there we go. So those are the pieces I need to cut. I just save this file now, Control S, save it here in my folder for this unit, and replace the one I already have. My next step would then be to load this into my graphics program for laser cutting, and I use a Glowforge, and so that's an online app, and I just drag and drop, and it will figure out the tool path to make this cut, and it's that easy. Thanks for listening. My next video will be on how to assemble this box with some wires inside. And then hopefully I have time to make one more video that talks about how to make gears and maybe some cams that can work in one of these boxes as well. Thank you for watching.